Hey, everybody. Welcome to the People, Purpose, and Profits Business Coaching Podcast. I'm Brian Buck, and my co-host is...
I'm Kat.
And we are so excited to bring a friend of mine who I've been impressed with for years, and I'm excited for him to impress our audience. So welcome, Bryan Williams. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me, Brian and Kat.
Pleasure having you.
Yeah, we are so excited. One of the things that we're going to talk about is, Bryan he's been an entrepreneur for over 14 years now. And this guy is all about excellence. He teaches excellence. He helps excellence, both in leadership and just the way you come across, but he also means excellence. And it shows up in everything that he does as an entrepreneur. So you want to go ahead and introduce a little bit about yourself and what you're about, and then we'll just dive into the topic.
Absolutely, Brian. Thank you for that excellent introduction. I appreciate you and Kat for taking the time for allowing me to be a part of your great podcast and your YouTube show. So I guess officially, I'm a keynote speaker, an author, and a consultant. And I guess what I really get paid to do is I really help companies with their service culture. So when you think about organizations that are renowned worldwide for excellence and exceptional service and exceptional workplaces, that's what I get paid to do, is to help companies create that type of work environment, whether it's in the hotel business or the hospitals or in long-term care, government, airlines, spas, gyms, you name it. So I work with multiple industries all over the world, and it's, as Brian mentioned, it's been a little over 14 years now. I don't know where the time flew by. My family and I were based in the Washington, D.C. metro area. My bride of, almost 20 years, and also our two children. Briley is 10, actually she's 10 3/4 as of yesterday. She told me to say 10 3/4, not even a half anymore. And our son is Bali.
She knows her fractions.
7.
Yeah.
She knows the fractions. You see that? Yeah. So anyway, so I'm excited to come to share whatever I can share with you today.
Wonderful. When you think about, we serve solopreneurs, small businesses, medium-sized business, coaches, consultants, keynote speakers, and you think about excellence. What does excellence mean to you, and how has it shown up for you in the work that you've done outside of what you teach, but just in how you interact?
Sure. So first of all, you look at the word excellence, and the root word in excellence is excel. That's the root word, excel. And excel means to go beyond. Go beyond what? To go beyond what's expected. So whenever you talk about excellence, you have to talk about exceeding someone's expectations. So for example, one of my personal standards is every week, I go through my email, I go through my sent items, and I randomly pick about 2 or 3 people who I can send a personal handwritten note card to. That's not expected from anyone who's receiving it, but that's a minimum standard for me. So that's excellence in their minds. One of our programs now, we have something called Motivational Moments. That's a monthly customized video service that companies can subscribe to. Well, we have our own content, right, that we do. But in addition to my content that I do in this 5 to 7 minute video, we also pull in the client's mission statement, their vision, their values, their standards. We also pull in the client's personal stories, organizational stories and examples to make that video ultra customized for them. So that's just 2 quick examples of what we mean by excellence.
Wow, that is impressive. And it makes me think of, it's not crowded along the extra mile, right?
No.
The things that you're talking about are really what makes people stand apart from those who are like dreaming about doing things, and those who are actually in the trenches, putting in the work and thinking how to serve. And that's, service at the excellence level. I love that.
You know what, and also Kat, just to piggyback on your point, whenever you're talking about coaches, speakers, consultants, you're really talking about people who serve people. Ultimately, you can say whatever word you want to say, speaker, coach, consultant, whatever you want to say, but ultimately, we're all serving people.
Exactly.
We all serve. It's not about the giver. It's really about the recipient. So if you're going to be in a space where you're privileged, we are privileged to do something for anyone else, we have to make it our minimum standard to exceed, to excel. If you hire me to come and say, let me coach you on how to scale your business, well, yeah, I can provide you resources, but that's not enough. Excellence means to really get in, dive into your motivation. Why did you start this business in the first place? What's the purpose? What are you trying to achieve? What's your short-term goal, your long-term goal? What type of reputation and legacy do you want to have? But ultimately, if anyone spends 5 minutes with you, Kat, what do you want them to leave feeling? And what should they do as a result of the 5 minutes they spent with you?
Right. And, you know, it is beautiful that you put it that way, because at the end of a conversation, you do want people to feel inspired, to see the vision, to see the possibilities, right? Because if they don't, then, you know, and it saddens me, and I have to say this, because, you know, in the online space, I'm seeing people push a lot of sales, and they bypass the most important part, which is the human part of us, you know, being entrepreneurs. And when you take a look at it, that's the goal, that's the heart, that's really what we have to tend to, right?
That's it. That's it.
Well, and I just think too, the whole nature of everything we do is relationships. And people can tell if you are genuine or not. Like, I know every interaction with you, when you go over the top, it's because you generally care. You know, you and I, Bryan, have had a conversation where you love to serve and you serve others because that's the way you can serve the whole world if you can't serve them personally. And and if an entrepreneur means that in their heart, it's going to show up in their actions.
That's right.
I want to ask something, and I hope I'm not interrupting. I really wanted to ask you, because you say you've been in business for 14 years, and, you know, excellence comes, you know, second nature to you. For someone who is just starting out, or they're finding themselves defeated right now, you know, with the trying times that we're in, how do you get people to go for excellence when they're barely meeting the minimum?
Now, so here's where I guess the word faith comes in. Because as you know, both of you especially, and everyone listening here on this podcast, many times as entrepreneurs, you are sowing seeds, right? You're sowing seeds, and you may not see that thing germinate or sprout for months, sometimes years. I have clients, I have people, I have 3 emails today for potential clients who I met over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes the germination period takes years, sometimes weeks or days. Yeah. So I would say have faith in the quality of work that you're producing. If you don't have faith in your own quality work that you yourself are producing, if you don't see the value in yourself, no one else will. I think that's number one. Like, really anchor yourself in what you are providing, whatever it is. That's number one. I think number two, take it step by step. Just take it today. Like, what can I do today? Who can I impact today? Don't think about the masses. Like, my prayer this morning, Bryan and Kat, my prayer this morning when I do my personal devotional time was, God, show me one person this week who I can really touch in a meaningful way, to make a meaningful difference in their life. I don't need 100 or 200 or 300. All it takes is one. Just one. And I'm not just to hear what I have to say. I'm talking about people who I can, their behavior somehow be transformed as a result of something that we shared or talked about.
Yeah.
So I think thirdly would be, don't get tired of encouraging yourself. Because you know what, it's great when your spouse can encourage you, or you have clients to encourage you, or this person can encourage you. You got Bryan and Kat encouraging you. That's awesome. But there will be times you will need to be in the CEO of yourself, the Chief Encouragement Officer of yourself.
I love that.
You have to. You have to. Because there will be days, particularly this season that we're in with the COVID and all of this going on, and the volatility in the economy and so on, you may go through periods of weeks, months where it's like, oh my gosh, like, I have no reason in your mind. I have no reason to smile, which obviously is ridiculous, because the mere fact that you're alive, you can hear this podcast right now, that's reason enough to scream and say, oh my gosh, I'm so blessed. Because there's people who are alive yet, who are not here today, because they're not here anymore.
It's so true. I actually had a friend of mine passed away, 33 years old, just a few days ago. So that is such a true statement. And sometimes we take it for granted because we think, oh, just because we're young, that, you know, our time is, and no, we never know. So treat each day, you know, as the biggest gift you've ever gotten. And, you know, it's so many things that you've covered there. You said serve every person, so I think that right there would be something that I would love to like ask you about, because I've noticed a lot of people miss out or not do business because they're afraid of missing out on the rest of like 399 versus focusing on one at a time, right? That's where they serve best.
That's right. Yeah, you know, and that's key because, so me, I grew up in the hotel business. Bryan knows that. So I grew up working in luxury hotels. That's my background. I had 17 different jobs, dishwasher, busboy, all those different, up to corporate executive. And the thing that was really drummed in us from the time I was a line employee, 17-year-old teenager line employee, is even if you have a line of 30 people waiting to check in, you don't really have 30 people. You have one person in front of you. And after that person checks in, then you literally reset yourself and start over with the next person. Because when you start saying, well, I have 30 people to check in, then you start treating it like a herd or group. And each person is not thinking that they're part of a herd or a group. That cat, you are an individual. You just traveled for miles and miles and miles, and you want to have your personalized experience, and you deserve it. You should get that experience because you could have gone somewhere else. And that's the same thing for coaches, entrepreneurs, and speakers. So like, I would never, me as a speaker and a consultant, right? In all these years I've been doing this, I would never tell a client, oh my gosh, I have so many other clients. Like, I'm so busy today. I got so many other calls today with other clients. And I know a lot of coaches and consultants and speakers who do that. I personally think that's inappropriate, because if I'm talking with you, there's no one else in the world right now who is more important at this moment. I'm present with you. You don't want to hear about my other clients. I love them, but it's not about them. It's about you, boo.
Yeah.
It's about you right now.
Well, I also love that too, because I think from an entrepreneur perspective too, like one of the things is just helping their psychology, because you can get overwhelmed if you're looking at the line, but you can get your heart into it if it's the one person. Because it reminds us we got in this business to serve, to help. And that one person lets us feel that versus putting stuff out there. Yeah.
You know, I want to ask Bryan, because the other Bryan, my partner in crime, has told me that you've been on stage, and you know, how is that different? You know, when, especially because since we do have one person at heart and we serve one person, how does that change when you're on stage serving the big crowd?
Great question. So I've spoken to audiences as small as 5 people up to 10,000 people as the keynote speaker, right? So I've done that all over the world. And here's what I do to answer your question. If I'm on stage, I don't see a group of people. I literally see one person at a time. So you may see me like looking here and looking there and looking there, and I might even be using people's names if I know who they are, because I'm literally not seeing a group of people. I'm training myself. I'm trying with everything in my power to make each person feel like I have a bridge that I've built from my heart to their heart. In fact, before I speak anywhere, I mean, I've done thousands of speeches, right? But before I speak, you know what I do? As I'm being introduced, usually this is what happens. I'm sitting down, or I'm in a corner somewhere, I'm in a backstage, and I'm praying. And I'm asking God to just reduce me and increase him, so that whoever can receive this message can receive it in a powerful way. Not from me, but from him. But ultimately, I don't want people to feel like I'm speaking to a group. I want each person to feel like I'm speaking to them individually. And people come up to me afterwards and say, I thought you were talking to me. Which is the goal. And that's the goal. I don't say that out loud, but people feel it because it's true. Like right now, I have Bryan and Kat on the call, and I'm talking to each of you. I'm not talking to both of you together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, and I thought we were part of the herd.
But it's similarly too, not only are you talking to each of us, but you are also talking to each person who's listening or watching right now. We can't
Yes.
see them, but we wanted you on here, and I know you're speaking from your heart to help them and to speak to them that they could be able to say, me too, and I could do that.
Listen, so first of all, let me just back up and say that one of the reasons that I learned to look at each person individually versus a group. So I grew up as a severe stutterer. I think, Bryan, you know that. I think I may have mentioned it to you in our speaker school that we did years ago. So I was a severe stutterer, Kat, like major, like I couldn't talk, basically. I would be embarrassed. And I'm an extrovert. Can you imagine an extrovert being afraid to talk? It's like you're being trapped inside of yourself. Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, like on the way up through like 11th grade high school, bullied, teased almost every day.
Wow.
Horrible, horrible. And what got me out of it is me starting to work in the hotel business. I felt so deeply in love with serving people. Like I felt I was plugged into a wall that I literally forgot to stutter. Like months went by and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't stutter today. Oh, what happened? It's been months now. Like this curse I thought was on my life, but I wouldn't be a speaker if I didn't stutter, because all those years I was stuttering, it made me imagine and fantasize and role play in my head every single day of speaking, because it was like a superpower that I couldn't do, right? Like when you're a kid, you always dream about things that you can't do. So I was doing that my whole life. I was speaking my whole life and without speaking.
Wow. Such a powerful story.
Yeah.
But I was so if I, the severe stutterer from a small island, I'm from St. Thomas, by the way, Kat, and Bryan probably knows that already. 13 miles long, 4 miles wide, 32.5 square miles. Okay, I'm from a very small place. And if I can have a successful, thriving business, still thriving right now, even amidst the COVID and all that stuff, praise God. If I can do that, nobody has any excuses why they can't do it. Because even me, if I can do it, because there's nothing that special about me. If I can do it, anyway. So I think a part of this, I'm a huge advocate of entrepreneurship. Huge advocate. Okay. My first business, I was maybe 15 or 16 years old. I used to have my own parties on St. Thomas. I used to like book the most popular band and then have people have to pay to the door, and it was a whole mess, okay? But I love the concept of owning what you're doing. And that bug was planted inside of me when I was 15, and I went to work in a fine dining French restaurant. That was my first real job, right? My first tax-paying job, if you will. Not cutting grass and washing cars. I mean, like official job, you get a paycheck. So I got a job. I was 11th grade, and the maitre d', who was from Paris. This is like a opulent, like imagine a place where there's no price on the menu. That's the kind of place it was. Like if you don't have any money, stay home. It's not for you, kind of thing. That's the kind of restaurant I worked in. First job, I was a dishwasher and a busboy. And the maitre d' said to me, he looked me in the eyes. He didn't say, welcome to the team and nice to have you. None of the nice orientation type things you would think you would say. He said, I want you to work in this restaurant like you own it.
Yeah.
Then he said, 6 months from now, if this restaurant is not better as a result of you being hired, you failed. So he planted that in me since I was 15. That let me know I wasn't just a dishwasher. I'm actually the owner of my job. So from that point on, every job I ever held, including the one I have now, I never viewed myself as an employee. I always viewed myself, I'm the CEO of my job, of my role. I have to conduct myself as such. How can I generate revenue, profitability? How can I increase customer engagement? How can I increase team member engagement? These are the things I'm thinking about all the time. When I was a housekeeper, when I'm a concierge, when I was a driver, when I was working in human resources, even now, like that's, you think about as a CEO, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be an entrepreneur.
True. And do you feel that you reached excellence or you teach excellence because it was required of you from outside of yourself first or from inside yourself?
Well, it's really a myriad, to be honest with you, because they're still alive, phenomenal parents. And they They're also instilled, do it well, do it well, do it well. Don't just settle for that, do it well. They never told me what they wanted me to be, but they always told me to just do things well, right? Follow through and do things well. So that was a part of it, in addition to working in one amazing place. Like initially it was called the Grand Palazzo Hotel, then later became the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, which that's really where I spent my career, Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. And then another part of it was just like, personally, I just care a lot about things being done well. And I really, really, more than anything else, what I really care about is people being treated well. That's really what I care about. People think I care about service a lot. That's true, but I only care about service because it leads to people being treated well. I really care about the people being treated well part.
Yeah, and that's part of the business.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for treating our audience well, treating us well. It's been so amazing to hear your journey and all of the things that you've done, Bryan. Is there anything that you want to share with our listeners and our audience on, things that are coming up or best ways to connect with you? We're going to make sure the link is on our YouTube channel and also with the audio show.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I will say two things. Number one is, don't give up. They want to call your coaches, your speakers, your consultants. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't look sideways to see what other speakers, coaches, consultants are doing. Don't look to see how far behind am I. No, like really focus on how can you be better today than you were yesterday. Like don't stop. Like this whole word excellence you've been talking about, that's not a destination you arrive at. It's an ongoing journey. I was telling my children the other day, I've been speaking professionally for, since 2001. So that's almost 20 years. My own business, 14 years. Every day I try to learn something new. If I'm the same speaker or consultant or writer or coach as I was last year, big problem. I haven't improved. So I would say, seek to improve every single day. Don't lose hope. Don't lose the hope. Because it can be discouraging, but that's really what separates those who really want it from those who don't. Right? If an unfavorable season comes along, whether it's a recession or a pandemic or whatever it is, if an unfavorable season comes along and that knocks you off and you stay off, that means you were not supposed to be here in the first place. Stay, anchor yourself. Believe in what you have to offer. Don't wait for someone else to say that they see value in you. See value in yourself first. I've told Bryan this many, many, many times. Unapologetically declare your worth and consistently prove it. Right? Whether you're providing your thought leadership on your writing and your blogs and your social media posts or your custom videos or your podcast, provide excellence. Provide value. Imagine that you're reaching through the camera and touching people's lives. Because there are people who are going to be sitting here listening to every word both of you have to say, Bryan and Kat, and they're hoping that they can get a nugget or something that they can use to transform not only their life, but their family's life.
Absolutely.
Yeah? So I think that's probably that's one thing I wanted to share first and foremost, because that's the most important. But in terms of what we have going on, how we've pivoted, we've been doing a lot. All my keynotes, they've switched from in-person to virtual. So all the companies that have me doing big keynotes in different places, they're pretty much all done virtual. So I'm at home, which is even better for me. I can be with my family even more. So It's been a positive consequence. We also have a great program I mentioned earlier called Motivational Moments. It's a custom video series that allows companies to keep their teams encouraged, inspired, and educated on a monthly basis. They get a custom 5 to 7 minute video using their mission, vision, values, and their stories, their organizational stories. So they get basically getting a virtual coach from me for their organization every month. So that's you can find out more at yourmotivationalmoments.com, yourmotivationalmoments.com for that specific service, but my website is bwenterprise.net. I know Bryan knows all about that stuff, man. He knows all my business, basically. Social security number, bank routing number, blood type, everything.
Well, and I also know you'd be an amazing guest, and thank you so much just for bringing your love and energy and everything. I always love talking to you, and I love letting more people hear from you as well, because I believe in everything that you do and want to continue to let other people hear about it too. So
Oh,
thank you,
Kat,
everybody.
Mhm.
thank you, Kat, Brian. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.